Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're digging into a really influential source, the Wikipedia entry covering Susan Cain's book, Quiet, The Power of Introverts. Our goal here is, to pull out the key insights for you, help you get a quick handle on this whole quiet revolution idea.
The big one.
Yeah, it really challenges how we think about personality success. It's fascinating stuff. Okay, let's unpack this.
Right. So the book came out in 2012, and Cain's core point is that, well, modern Western culture just doesn't get introverts. It undervalues them.
Leading to a colossal waste of talent, she says.
Exactly. A huge waste of talent, energy, happiness. And it's personal for her, too. She's a Harvard law grad, left Wall Street, partly because of her own struggles with public speaking. Yeah, and seeing introverts treated like second-class citizens. She actually compared it to women before the feminist movement really took hold.
Wow, that's a strong comparison.
It is. So today, we'll look at how we got here historically, define what introversion really is. Spoiler, it's not just shyness. How it affects work, relationships, all that. And crucially, the real-world impact the book's had. What's fascinating here is how deep this goes.
Okay, so let's start with that historical piece. Cain talks about something she calls the extrovert ideal. What exactly is that, and where did it come from?
Yeah, the extrovert ideal. It's her term for basically the omnipresent belief that the ideal self is gregarious, alpha, and comfortable in the spotlight.
So the ideal person is loud and proud.
Kind of, yeah. Outgoing, dominant, loves being the center of attention. And Cain argues this wasn't always the case in America. Before the late 19th century, it was more about a culture of character.
Character meaning, like integrity, moral.
Precisely. Who you were inside, your ethics, your actions. But then things changed. Industrialization, cities growing, immigration.
Thanks societal shifts.
Huge shifts. And historian Warren Sussman called the result a culture of personality. Suddenly, it's about how you appear. Perception trumps truth, as he put it.
So image becomes key.
Exactly. It ties into the rise of the salesman, this move from morals to magnetism. It totally changed who we look up to.
Here's where it gets really interesting.
Right. It's not universal either. Like Greco-Roman culture valued oratory, sure, but many Asian cultures traditionally valued quietness, caution.
That's a really important contrast. So this extrovert ideal isn't some global constant.
Not at all. It's a cultural construct, particularly strong in the modern West.
Okay, so if this ideal is so dominant, what are the downsides? You mentioned wasted talent, but what are the sort of pitfalls for society when we lean so heavily towards extroversion?
Oh, the dangers are pretty significant. One major one is groupthink.
Right. Everyone agreeing too easily.
Exactly. And it stifles real creativity. Cain makes a strong case that brainstorming, the way it's usually done, often a mistake.
Really? But it's so common.
I know. But she argues, and the research often backs this up, that original thought tends to come from individuals, working quietly, concentrating.
That makes sense. Those big brainstorming sessions can feel performative sometimes.
Totally. And get this, physiologically, when someone disagrees with the group, even if they're right, their amygdala, the brain's fear center, lights up.
Seriously, fear of just...
It's agreeing. Fear of social rejection, basically.
Yeah.
It actively discourages people from sharing potentially valuable but maybe unpopular ideas. People are just more creative with privacy, without constant interruption.
So this bias isn't just about feelings, it actually affects outcomes.
Absolutely. If we connect this to the bigger picture, think about juries. The pressure to conform can literally undermine justice.
Wow.
Or even, she suggests, the 2008 financial crisis. Maybe the heavily extroverted culture in finance, that dopamine-driven reward-seeking played a part.
That's a sobering thought. Okay, so we see the problem with the ideal. Let's flip it. How does Cain define an introvert? Because, like you said, it's not just being shy, right?
Right, and this is so important. Cain defines introverts primarily by their preference for a quiet, more minimally stimulating environment.
Preference, not inability, but preference.
Key difference. They recharge their energy differently. They often enjoy quiet focus. They listen more than they talk, think before speaking, maybe a bit more cautious with risks.
Okay, so how is that different from shyness then? Because people mix those up all the time.
All the time. Shyness is about the fear of negative judgment. It feels bad. It's anxiety. Introversion is just a preference for less stimulation. It's not inherently uncomfortable. An introvert might skip a party because they genuinely rather read a book, not because they're scared of people.
Got it. So one is fear, one is preference.
Exactly. And they're not antisocial either, just differently social. Maybe preferring deep chats with one or two friends over a huge crowd. And Definitely not autism introverts read social cues just fine.
And it's a spectrum, right? Not just introvert or extrovert.
Absolutely. It's a continuum. Lots of people are ambiverts, somewhere in the middle. Cain estimates maybe a third to even half of Americans lean introverted.
That many. Wow.
Yeah. And she argues it's fundamental to who we are, like gender or race. It shapes our friendships, relationships, careers, how we handle conflict.
Everything. And it's innate, like biological.
There's a strong biological component. Detectable in babies, those highly reactive infants often grow up to be introverts. It's about 50% heritable. Brain chemistry plays a role too. Things like dopamine sensitivity, how active the neocortex is.
Fascinating. This raises an important question then. If it's so fundamental and maybe half the population leans this way, how do introverts actually navigate this extrovert-centric world? What about that pressure to act like someone you're not?
Yeah, that pressure is immense. Cain talks about pseudo-extroverts, people who basically put on an extrovert mask all day.
Exhausting, I imagine.
Totally exhausting. She actually observed introverts in these high-energy environments. Tony Robbins seminars, Harvard Business School, mega churches, places she calls nerve centers of the extrovert ideal. You could see the discomfort.
So can introverts ever act extroverted without burning out?
They can, and this is where her free trade theory comes in. Introverts can act out of character for things they deeply care about, work they find meaningful, people they love. But, and this is crucial, they absolutely need restorative niches.
Restorative niches. I like that phrase. Like recharge zones.
Exactly. Time and space to be their true selves, drop the mask, recharge their batteries. Constantly faking it isn't sustainable or healthy.
Okay, let's talk about the workplace. You mentioned brainstorming, but what about things like open plan offices? They seem designed for extroverts.
They often are, and Cain is critical of what she calls the new groupthink, this obsession with constant collaboration. Open offices, often linked to less concentration, lower productivity, even more sick days.
Really? Less productive?
Yeah, impaired memory, higher turnover too. It's kind of wild. Office space per person has shrunk like 60% since the 70s.
Wow. So the solution isn't necessarily more collaboration.
Not forced collaboration anyway. The solution's recognizing that solitude is vital for creativity and deep work. Offices need options, spaces for quiet focus, and spaces for interaction. Choice is key.
And leadership. Does this mean introverts can't be good leaders?
Not at all. Cain points out introverts can be better leaders for proactive teams because they listen more and empower people. Extroverts might be better suited for more passive teams that need that outward motivation. It's about fit, not one style being inherently superior.
That makes a lot of sense. What about personal relationships? An introvert and extrovert together sounds like potential conflict.
It can be tricky, yeah. The introvert needs quiet to recharge. The extrovert wants to socialize. One person's relaxation is another's exhaustion.
So misunderstandings waiting to happen.
Definitely. Cain's advice is pretty straightforward, though. Understand each other's needs. Talk about it. Find practical compromises. Balance alone time with together time. Individual activities with joint ones. Respect the different energy levels.
Okay. And kids. Are we pushing introverted kids too hard in schools, maybe? Making them feel like something's wrong with them?
That's a huge concern for Cain. She emphasizes introverted kids are not defective. They often excel academically, are highly creative, show empathy, develop unique leadership skills.
Any evidence for that?
Loads. They disproportionately win academic awards. They tend to cheat less, be more conscientious, take fewer risks, think fewer car accidents, things like that.
Interesting. So the advice for schools?
Give kids more privacy and autonomy. Teach them how to work alone effectively, not just constantly push group work. Balance is needed.
It really does sound like this deep dive paints a picture of, well, societal imbalances we often overlook. So thinking bigger picture, what's Cain's ultimate aim here? And what kind of impact has this quiet revolution actually had since 2012? So what does this all mean?
Right. Her goal isn't for introverts to take over or anything. It's about balance. Achieving a better balance and genuinely including different styles. She believes the diversity of temperament, of work style just makes for a fuller, richer world.
Including the quiet ones.
Including the quiet ones. She sees introverts today as being where women were, say, in the 1950s or 60s, on the verge of recognition, of coming into their own power.
The quiet revolution.
That's the term. She's pushing for fundamental changes in hiring, promotion, office design, teacher training. Everything needed to support, not suppress, quieter temperaments.
Okay, lofty goals. Has it actually, worked? Has the book made waves?
Oh, absolutely. Enormous waves. The book itself was a phenomenon, a huge bestseller. Translated into over 40 languages, millions of copies sold. Her TED Talk, viewed over 30 million times.
30 million. Okay, so people are listening.
Definitely listening. And it's led to real changes. Like office design companies like Steelcase actually worked with Cain to create quiet zones, a direct pushback against the open plan trend.
That's concrete.
Very concrete. Law schools have rethought training and placement. Psychology is talking about a quiet, positive psychology, valuing contentment, not just high-energy happiness.
And leadership. You mentioned figures like Bill Gates.
Right. The book highlighted loads of influential introverts. Lincoln, Rosa Parks, Gandhi, Einstein, Warren Buffett. Obama was often described that way too. It reinforces the idea, which management thinkers like Peter Drucker also noted, that great leadership doesn't always require charisma.
Interesting. Any other areas?
Even the jury system. Proposals to use written input before deliberation, drawing on the book's ideas about collective wisdom, and universities using it for freshman reading programs to spark self-reflection.
So it's really permeated a lot of different fields. Were there criticisms?
Generally, it was highly praised, earnest, enlightening. Some critics felt she may be overgeneralized about Asian cultures, or that her definition of introversion was maybe a bit too broad. Elaine Aron, for instance, distinguishes highly sensitive persons more sharply. But overall, the impact is undeniable.
What a fascinating journey. We've gone from this idea of an extrovert ideal to redefining introversion, seeing how it plays out everywhere from the office to our homes, and now seeing the real ripples of Cain's quiet revolution. I think the key takeaway for you listening is that understanding temperament, yours and others, isn't just about labels. It's really about unlocking potential, right? Creating spaces where everyone can actually thrive.
Exactly. And maybe the final thought to leave you with is this. The book forces us to ask how our cultural biases might be unintentionally sidelining the very skills and perspectives we need most. That quiet colleague, that thoughtful child, that leader who listens more than they speak. Maybe they hold keys we've been overlooking. So think about your own world, your meetings, your family dynamics, your friendships. Where could a little more quiet, a bit more understanding of different energy styles make a really profound difference? This dive is just a starting point, of course. The book itself goes even deeper.